I drove down to our farmhouse this past Tuesday to mow, a trip reminiscent of the Shackleton Antarctic expedition, except I wasn't trapped in ice 100 miles short of the South Pole. I was stuck in Martinsville on the I-69 detour without food or water. When I finally arrived at the farm, I discovered I was out of gas for the mower. So drove the 10 miles back into town, then returned to the farm and started mowing, only to get stuck in a ditch with no one around to pull me out. So I had to tie a rope around the front of the tractor and dig it and drag it out of the ditch, which hurt my back. So I went inside to get an aspirin and discovered we were out. So I tried meditation, which Joanne calls a nap, and it didn't work, and it usually does. Since it didn't work, I thought about going to a chiropractor, but it's so expensive. And this morning I'm feeling every minute of my 60 years. It made me think, as I finished mowing, wouldn't it be nice to just have one easy day? I know it's all relative. This past Tuesday, while I was wrenching my back, someone else was in a hospital learning they had terminal cancer, so it's always relative. And there's always someone who has it worse than we do. But wouldn't it be nice to just have one day where everything happened magically and easily with no effort? If you ever have a day like that, treasure it in your memory, for it is rare indeed. I am reminded of that whenever we talk about becoming whole, which we've been doing before we took a detour for Easter, and then for last week's wonderful talk by Dr. Leah Gunning-Francis. So today we pick up where we left off. We continue thinking about the habits of wholeness, those customs, patterns, and behaviors that help us become who we were created to be. Becoming whole is hard work. If it is easy for us, we probably aren't doing it right. What are the habits of wholeness we must cultivate? Let's go over where we've been. Thus far, we've talked about balance, by which we mean giving each aspect of life its proper weight, place, and priority, lest we lose our sense of equilibrium and fall. And then we discussed patience, which we defined as the calm acceptance that things can happen in a different order than the one we had in mind. Since giving that message 3 weeks ago, life has conspired to test my patience on a daily basis, and I have regularly had to remind myself that things can happen in a different order than the one I had in mind. Today, I want to talk about a third habit of wholeness. And if you thought balance and patience were difficult, then try this one: forgiveness. Forgiveness. They just wrapped up a really interesting study at the University of Berkeley, a study on forgiveness, and they define forgiveness as the conscious, deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment or vengeance toward a person or group who has harmed you, regardless of whether they actually deserve your pardon. So forgiveness is deliberate. It is an on-purpose decision. It is not done thoughtlessly or recklessly. It is intentional. It doesn't deny the feelings of retribution or revenge we might feel, but it chooses not to be ruled by them. It decides not to let those feelings dominate or govern our lives. Forgiveness doesn't diminish the pain others have caused us. It doesn't dismiss it out of hand. It recognizes that real and actual harm has been done. It never discounts the damage and injury done to us or another. Indeed, it acknowledges that some hurt is so grievous, it doesn't deserve our forgiveness. And that some people are so unmindful that they will never realize the harm they have caused others. But we realize that our refusal to forgive can create such resentment and bitterness within ourselves that in the interests of our own well-being, our desire for revenge must be released, lest we become unwell. Remember what Annie Lamott said. I've said it before. Not forgiving someone is like drinking rat poison, then waiting for the rat to die. Not forgiving eats us up. The writer Emo Phillips once said, "When I was a kid, I used to pray every night for a new bicycle. Then I realized that God doesn't work that way. So I stole a bicycle, then asked God to forgive me." But forgiveness just isn't God's work. It is our work too. It is a habit we cultivate in order to become whole and complete human beings. Forgiveness is our work too. And I mean the word work literally. It is work. It is an effort. It never happens magically and easily. It takes time. The families of the slain FedEx workers should not be expected or asked to forgive an injury they are only now beginning to understand and comprehend. Forgiveness is work. It is an effort. It never happens magically and easily. It takes time. I remember a man coming to me who had found out the day before we met that his wife had been unfaithful for several years. One of the first things he said to me was, "Of course I forgive her." As it turned out, he hadn't. He had just thought he should. Because he thought forgiveness should be automatic for Christians, that if you were a Christian, you forgave people instantly without delay. But I think pain and injury must first cool for forgiveness to be both extended and appreciated. My mom used to make these wonderful cherry pies for our family. And I always wanted to eat them straight from the oven, but my mom wouldn't let me. "Let it cool first," she would say. "It'll taste better. Just let it cool first." Some things are better after the heat of passion has dissipated. Forgiveness is like that. Time allows the perpetrator to become aware of the harm they have caused, and simultaneously allows the one hurt to appreciate the liberating power of forgiveness. So let's recap. Forgiveness is deliberate and intentional. It doesn't casually dismiss or deny the harm caused. And while it is nice if the offender is aware of the pain they've created, some people are clueless and will never understand what they have done, no matter how many times you tell them. Forgive them anyway, so the rat poison doesn't kill you. Forgiveness is work, but it is not just the work of God. It is our work too, and takes time, because passion must cool for forgiveness to be fully appreciated. That mythical one easy day I'm always looking for doesn't exist, friends. Life is not only a series of joy, it is a series of struggles, one of the greatest of which is releasing our anger and bitterness at the proper time. When we do that well, when we cultivate the practice of forgiveness, we are well on our way to human wholeness. Let us now enter into our time of open worship.